We're going to go ahead and start this meeting. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge of the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Hey, welcome everyone to our August 10th workshop. We had nothing on the agenda last week, so we postponed our meeting, and this week we got a full meeting. First up, Steve, you want to do a couple budget amendments to recognize receipt of State of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development grants.
Right, I'm actually going to do 4 budgets.
Okay, you're on.
First is budget amendment number 2022-05 to recognize $655,504 in State of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development grants that was used to fund the clean facility improvement project at 100 Chesapeake Boulevard.
Okay, we have a motion to approve budget amendment 2022-05.
So
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I just want to make sure this is just cleaning up last year's fiscal.
that's correct. As the accruals come in during the year, we have to do some last minute amending of the budget.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one.
Budget amendment number 2022-06 is recognized $11,133 with Elkton Downtown Facade Grant and expenditure to the Community Legacy Program.
We have a motion to approve budget amendment 2022-06.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Budget amendment number 2022-07 is to recognize $145,000 in the anticipated fund balance and their funding of $90,000 in planning and zoning engineering and $55,000 in waste removal contractor services.
We have a motion to approve budget amendment 2022-07.
So moved.
Second. A motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
My last budget amendment is 2022-08 to transfer $25,000 in DPD patrol investigation salaries into DPD support services salaries.
We have a motion to approve budget amendment 2022-08. Got a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Steve, do you believe this is all of our amendments for 20 fiscal?
We shall see. We know we have the ARPA standard allowance that is allowable use, so any overall over expenditure. So we will see. We haven't gotten the final numbers yet for last year's expenditure, so there may be budget numbers forthcoming enough for a little bit.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to bounce the agenda around a little bit. And first up, we've got the Weiner Benefits Group. Come on down. I think you're prepared and ready to go. Tell us a little bit of what's happening here. Andy, do you want to do the introductions or?
Oh, yeah, if you don't mind that. So just a little background. When I started here at the beginning of the year, as a business associate of mine congratulated me on my new job in town of Elkton. But he also recommended that we do an analysis of a 401A 47 plan for the employees. Unbeknownst to me, it was already done a couple of years prior. Kathleen Metzler and Renee actually reached out to an organization called Garrison's, and that document was shared to me, and it revealed that there's some areas that we can improve upon on the 401A. So I reached out to Weiner Benefits Group because I had done business with them in my prior employment for 20 years, and I trusted and had them do an analysis. I did not share the prior analysis with them because I wanted to see if the numbers were similar, and they were. They did a little bit more in-depth analysis than the first group. But they're here to kind of share what their findings are. I'm not an investment expert, but there's 2 things that I think that what I've learned is that we can do and have control over for our employees in regards to 401A is reduce the costs that they have to pay for managing the plan, because we can't control the Dow. Dow's up 500 points right now. It was down a couple weeks ago, majorly, but we can't control the Dow, but we can control the expenditures that the employees pay toward managing those funds. So we can control what they pay to manage these 2, the 401A 7, and we can help control what they know as far as education. And I think that the education and what the employees have been paying, there's improvement there. And that's what Warner Benefits Group is here to share with you.
Thank you. You guys are on.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much. It's our privilege to be here today. We have an abbreviated presentation in the PowerPoint. The booklet that we handed out is the full version. So if there's something that you see in here that you want us to address that isn't on the screen, just bring it up, and we just wanted to try to keep time efficient for you folks today. So if that's okay. We'll go ahead and get started. Our agenda for the next 30 minutes is to talk about why to partner with an advisor, because the town has not had an advisor associated with the retirement plan in the past, and we'd like you to see the advantages of that. We also did, as Andy mentioned, a full benchmarking analysis where we went out to the market, and we'll show you what we did. In that respect, there are considerations, your fixed account in those plans and your current plans, and we did an investment analysis, and we're going to talk about that as well. Another aspect of this type of analysis are your target date funds, and we'll talk about that. And then employee engagement and education, which is a huge part of what we want to bring to the table for the town and the plan participants as one of the most valuable things that I think you could get from this. And then we'll talk about the next steps. But very importantly, I want you to know that we have a team, and our team is here with us. Part of our team, we have Stephanie Clendenning, who is our account executive. She is going to be in charge of the education portion and engaging with your folks and making sure that we get all of those meetings scheduled out, and we design an educational plan for you and your folks. But also she's the coordinator and will coordinate a lot of the mechanics of getting things from point A to point B. And then we have Tom Gillibo, who is our associate advisor. He is also with us today. He will be assisting. One of the components that we want to advocate is one-on-one interaction with your folks. And we are an investment advisor representative, series 66763, FINRA licensed. And we are also accredited investment fiduciary. So we want to make sure that everyone knows that we bring to the table the expertise necessary to engage with folks at the highest level and to meet their needs. And then we have Alexandria, who is our administrative assistant in our office. And behind this team is a full team of benefit experts, and we have about 20 people in our firm that handle all kinds of benefits. We're one of the largest in the region since 1938, and that's all in the beginning part of that report. And I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that with you guys. So I'm going to just talk through this, and then Stephanie and Tom will chime in as we go forward as necessary. So why partner with an investment advisor or an advisor for your plan? This kind of outlines the areas that we would want to work on with you and your group. Fiduciary support, and we'll unpack this. The comprehensive and ongoing fiduciary guidance, training, and support for you and your folks. Fee benchmarking. It's a compliance item. It's necessary. You always want to make sure that you have the best rates and the best plans in the marketplace for your group. And we'll show you our results for that with them a few years ago as well. Investment analysis, very important. We want to make sure all the components in the plan are working effectively for you and your participants. And again, target date funds, which we'll talk about, are becoming something to be aware of in the sense that they have to be appropriate for your group. So we'll touch on that. For courageous plan design, you have administration and plan design built into your nationwide platform, and we'll talk about that. And then employee engagement, which is going to be a huge aspect of what we do, as we mentioned. So fiduciary support, 457B and 401A consolidated plan oversight and review. Right now, the two plans are kind of held separate. You have one person that comes in to talk about one plan, but the other folks on the other plan are kind of left hanging. In the respect that they don't get the interaction that maybe they need. We're going to consolidate all of that into one platform, two separate plans, but one view in a platform, and then one set of advisors to meet with all of the folks on both of the plans. A little different than I think it is now. Oversight, fiduciary oversight and plan governance. We're going to work with your committee to educate on the fiduciary responsibilities, and we have modules for training to bring everybody up to speed as to what responsibilities they have. And we have a fitness program and a process overview that we work with. In this type of program. Investment review, menu selection and monitoring. We're a 321 fiduciary locking arms with you to make sure you have the investments that are scored well, perform well, and are cost effective. And we're going to unpack that as well. Suitability, benchmarking, service schedules, document portal. We're going to have a cloud-based portal where all of your plan documents will be in one place so that everyone knows the plan sponsors and the trustees know where to go to. So there's less confusion. So this is the benchmarking report. It looks like a bunch of numbers, and it is, but this is really good, deep work in the sense that we lift up all the cups in the cup game, you know, the shuffling, and help you see and make transparent all the associated costs within a plan. And then we compare that to the other vendors out there. So we went to, you have Nationwide as your platform, and this is the 401A we're talking about. We'll talk about the 457 as well. But Nationwide is your incumbent. We went back to Nationwide and got updated rates. We went to, this is the competitive average, but we went to all the major players that would work with the municipality, Empower, One America, Voya, and a Census. And we got their costs and we compared them to what you were currently doing. And then we went back to Nationwide and we asked for a rebid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we work with Nationwide already. And this is part of the job of an advisor is to look at all your options. But then it's less disruptive to stay where you are and have them adjust and then move everything to another carrier. So we always go back to the incumbent and give them a chance to look at it again. Yes. Big difference, right? So what part of this is that the 401 is on an old platform. The 457 is on a new platform. And you can see they're both the same cost. So what we are going to do is move the 401 from the old platform to the new platform, which is the same as the 457. But you can see the record keeper fees are the required revenue that these companies need in order to run your plan. So this is what it costs to be with Nationwide. This was the rebid on their new plan design or their new platform. Empower came in very well. One America, really big in the nonprofit municipal marketplace. Voya, I think everyone knows Voya. And the Census is who Vanguard uses. So we went to some of the top names. And you can see that Empower was very competitive, but still we're in good shape over here. Administration, third-party administration, we'll talk about, but it's bundled in with your plan and there's no cost currently for that. The investment expenses. So everyone knows that inside mutual funds are management fees, and we compare those two. So when we look at where the money is in this plan, these are the net expenses. 13 basis points or $5,700. Employees, participants paid out. The reason in part why that's so low is because a good part of the assets in the 401 are in the fixed account and there are no fees in the fixed account.
That's sort of baked in.
It's the fees are picked up by the rest of the folks who have investments in the mutual fund. So those that are in the fixed account aren't paying the fees. People with the mutual funds account are paying. So, but we'll tell you how many are in that fund. But if someone is 100% in the fixed account, they're not paying the fees. Everyone else is. So part of our job is to help fix that. But we'll unpack that a little more as we go. So you can see, then there's no advisor involved right now, so there's no cost there. If we do the rebid, then having an advisor, our fee would be 27 basis points, which is below market average for a plan this size. And this is what we would charge to do what we do. And you can see the total cost, even by adding us, is still a little more than half of what, a little less than half of what, the fees are currently. Does that make sense? So then when we compare the other vendors, you can see that, well, Empower is really the lowest cost overall. One America, Voya. But our thought process is, let us come in, make the adjustments on the plan, consolidate everything, educate folks, get them retirement ready. And then the next step, maybe next year, we look at changing potentially to a more updated, larger platform. Yes, ma'am.
Can you define basis point?
Yes, hundredths of a percent.
Based on what's in there, the money that's in there?
Yeah, so this is
Okay.
weighted based on where the investments are.
Okay.
So for instance, an actively managed mutual fund might be 60 basis points, but the stable value fund is 0 basis points. So then depending on where the assets fall, it averages out weighted based on where the money sits. Does that make sense?
No, but I'm not a financial person, but I understand now what you said, that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this number is weighted based on where the assets are invested. Any other questions? Good question. So we did the same thing with the 457. Now it would be one platform, one vendor. So you notice it's still 25 basis points for nationwide, whether it's 457 or 401. But the 457 currently costs you more.
What doesn't count as the town, the employees,
Yes,
because
because
these fees are covered by the employees themselves.
that's exactly right. Yeah, so if you're getting 11.14% return on your investment, you're netting out 10 because they're paying the 1.14 in fees. Does that make sense? So you can see the difference in the various funds again, or record keepers. Again, we would look at an incremental change as opposed to all-in change to Empower. I think a couple of years ago, the previous advisor suggested an all-in change to Empower. We're not opposed to that, but it'll be more incremental to work into it over the next year and a half so that your folks can get to know us, help us, you know, we can help them, and then we can incrementally change over the next year or two. Tom did a lot of the work on this benchmarking report. Did you have anything to add on this, Tom?
A couple of things. This is something that you could expect from us every 3 years or so, to go out to the marketplace, to dig into your fees currently. That's part of your responsibility as a plan sponsor, and compare it to what other providers in the marketplace, even if you don't have an appetite to make change, just so that you can feel good about and confirm that you're, in the best place. Secondly, we keep talking about transitioning to a new platform. Just to put that in terms of, in a way that you can understand. Right now, you have some of those difficulties with one advisor can come in and talk to your folks about one plan, but can't talk about the other plan. This would alleviate that concern. And then also logging in. I think right now, the folks have to log in with 2 different places to their accounts. They would be on the same platform for one single sign-on. So more user-friendly experience for them.
Any questions on that? So benchmarking is one of the things advisors do. So under the heading of why have an advisor, this is why, because we can uncover the fact that, wow, there's savings for the folks. That's what this is all about, right? To do the right thing for the folks, the participants. And this is our value to you. And in fact, the regional director of Nationwide, who works on all of the municipal plans in the region, is aware of all of this, and the folks that are giving us the information on their plans are his employees. And he says this is not an uncommon issue in the municipal world. And he actually thinks that Nationwide needs more advisors or plans out there, because a lot of municipalities like yourselves don't have an advisor to help them, because they know about this stuff, but they can only impact it so much. Because the other aspect of this is, notice the difference in the investment expenses, one versus the other. The reason is because Nationwide came in with a bunch of Nationwide funds, so they're more expensive, right? As an advisor, we're going to look at Vanguard and BlackRock on, everybody else that's available because it's open architecture. We can advise you on the best funds and we'll show you that. But when it's just nationwide, they're gonna pick the nationwide funds. And that therefore it's gonna cost the employee more as well. So, talking about, what we do as an advisor, we monitor, we score, we look at the funds that you have, and we use a proprietary system that, and I'll show you what this measures, but essentially a 10 is good, a 1 is bad. So you want close to a 10. When we score these out and we're looking at the funds for you guys, we're looking at staying in the 7 to 10 scoring range. So what this column shows is that where each of your funds score, and it's an average of 7.4. Not bad as an average, but then you see, well, there's some 6s and 3s in your fixed income funds. There's some 5s and 6s in your large cap funds, and a 6 in your large cap value. Those would all be under our watch funds that we would suggest that you move out because they don't meet the criteria. The other thing is, why are there 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, however many I lost count of large cap growth funds? That's just really confusing, right, for your participant. So we would narrow it down to, these are our selections. So the ones we picked are 10 and 9. We have a active and and actively managed and an index fund in that category. That's why there's 2, not 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Right. Large cap blend. We have several in there scoring 10 and so on. So this is an easy way. You can see our lineup scores average 9.4 versus 7.4. And all of the vendors used our lineup. The census used something a little bit different. But that's why that scores a little bit differently. You can see with our scoring methodology, we monitor this and we get the bad scores out. So we have this nicely highlighted for you, and I totally forgot that. So, but the other thing that you notice is that there's nothing in the mid-cap blend growth value, small cap blend growth value categories. So your folks are missing out on the 401 plan on these mid-cap and small cap funds. So as an advisor, then I'll show you a chart where it really illustrates the fact that you need to have asset classes represented. And then there's our set of funds that we move to in the new nationwide plan. So on the 457, same thing, except the large cap growth funds in the 457, they all score back. So we would move most of those out, or all of those out, and replace them with ours. Your small cap value needs to go. We have 2 there.
So Louis, real quickly, was the employee making the decision on the plans that they were in? Is that correct?
Yes,
They
you
weren't being advised to change.
correct. Now on the 457, they had someone coming in from nationwide,
Okay,
but on the 401, they didn't have anyone.
understand.
And I understand that the 457 person couldn't talk to them about the 401. So these folks were kind of left out there without any decision or any help.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
But also, can I just say that the employees were stuck in whatever funds were in our lineup?
Correct.
So we didn't get to choose a better class of funds. We're still stuck with that line.
Correct.
This
So
will give us better funds to choose from.
thank you for pointing that out. That's exactly right. So our job as your advisor is to give you a better menu to start with. And then advise your folks on how to best use that menu for themselves to be retirement ready. You know, based on their risk and time frame and the returns of it.
Will there be a meeting with all of our employees as we move forward, right?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, our idea, our typical process is once you decide to move forward and we get the mechanics of changing over out of the way, because there's some forms and things that we have to go through, then an employee meeting or a set of meetings, group meetings in a group setting, followed with scheduling one-on-ones in our wellness, our WellSense system. That's definitely that.
And we had a committee together that have met with the folks, or has it just been you as an individual?
So Mayor, the directors, along with the town administrator, reviewed this and received the same presentation. We've actually been in discussion with Weiner since March.
Yes.
March. And so we've gone through this, there's been 2 or 3 bids. But the town administrator is, I believe, Lewis, you're deciding on who's going to be member of the committee. But most likely, I think the town administrator is deciding who's the directors will be on the committee. After today's meeting, the first step is, hey, whether or not the town administrator agrees to sign the agreement, start doing business with Weiner. Next step would be to formalize who's on the committee, and then next step is the transition from the current plan to the nationwide rebid.
I can just, my knee-jerk reaction is it's already better. I think that the selling is done.
Okay.
You know, the selling is done here. And I think, and listen, it comes down to our employees that make this decision. You know, I wish that I could say that the mayor and commissioners were on one of these plans.
Yes.
And we were part of the retirement plan with the town of Elkton, but we're not. So it is going to be coming down to the decision of the team out here to make sure, and I can see it's already done.
Well, thank you, Mary. I appreciate that.
I was gonna ask a similar question, what buy-in will the employees have to actually understand it? And for you to get them in a position to, intelligent yes, or an educated yes, that they want this. Well, I guess I'm going back into, Andy.
And so right now, for example, 401A, the 401A, when an employee is hired, they're automatically put into the 401A account. The town of Elkton contributes 8% of their salary to that 401A. And it's in a fixed account. And it's there for at least 5 years. And according to the employee handbook we just revised, after 5 years, the employee should have a choice, because that money is vested now. And they have a choice to change their investments within the board. Fortunately, that's not happening because they lack the education. So what we want to provide is the education to give them the choice. If they want to stay in the fixed account, that's fine. But if they want to possibly, grow their investments, they will sit down with the advisor, and the advisors will advise on what's, how they should move their funds around, or they can keep things the way they are, or they can stick with the target fund pathway as far as their age bracket. But right now, that's the problem, Commissioner, is that there's no communication on the 401A. And I want to say also, this does not has anything to do with police pension. The sworn officers are not part of the 401A. I do understand. But there are civilians in the police department that it does impact, and there are police officers, sworn officers that do participate in the 457 as well. So this will impact them as well.
One thing I would say is, it's intimidating for somebody that's not into the financial field and hopefully they can break it down to, I guess, the term where it's more on the level with the employee and then not just talking numbers or different terms.
Yes.
This is one thing that I can say a lot of people have problems with in different jobs is dealing with their 401k, their retirement, and then they're assuming that someone got them the right way, but they really don't want to speak up and say, I don't really understand what you're saying. I would like to see something broken down where even for somebody that never even heard anything like this can understand it.
It also comes out to, where somebody is in their age bracket. Somebody that's 20 can go into one of the high option plans that are more riskier, where somebody sitting at 50, 55, 60, they're not, they're closer to retirement. So, and that's where the advisors come in. I mean, right now we have no 401A advisor. They have to call the 800 number. So if we have them sitting down, each employee, they can find out where they should be and what they're investing in. And that's what Weiner's will bring to us.
Other thing, the advisor, as Tom mentioned earlier, they're going to do a review every 2 to 3 years to make sure that we are where we should be. We don't really have control of what the employee decides. Even if we give them the right information or good information, it's up to them to make the decision. What the town has control over is giving them the education and lowering the expenses they're currently paying for the plan. And clearly, the expenses for the 401A for 57 are high compared to what we can get.
So I think it's a great tool that the employees are gonna have their hands on, and I hope that, when they're all Earl's age, they'll all be able to retire. I mean, the Charlie's age, I just hope that they're able to retire. He and I got a long way to go.
Slide in the mayor.
There we go. No, I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation, but I just want. You can give us more of the Reader's Digest version, maybe the
Okay.
rest of the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Commissioners, great question on the engagement and education, because one thing we know is that this is very deep, heady stuff, right? And this is our job. It's not your participants' job to know the intricate details of this. So I skipped to this slide because it kind of speaks to the educational process. We'll start with a group education meeting, which we have some slides that kind of break it down into, well, you should be diversified, you should be well allocated, but really just, let's schedule a time to talk. So there's the initial outreach, then there's the financial, there can be, we send out emails to everybody and they can log in and they can do a mini financial assessment. Basics, and you don't have to go to your CPA or anybody to do this, you just answer basic questions. And then it gives us a picture of what that person needs. And it can be debt management, it could be, well, I need to be retirement ready, it could be risk, life insurance, whatever, it's about 12 questions. And then it comes back as a score, and with that individual, they can also schedule a meeting in that process, and we have blocked out times where we can do one-on-ones. But we have a report that tells us what that person was concerned about, if they filled that out. But even if they didn't, they can just say, well, we want a one-on-one, and we go through a similar process to find out what their time frame is and what their risk is, and what the best mix is, and whether they're actually putting enough away to be retirement ready. But it's a full process that includes group sessions and then follow-up education meetings, action plans, and then reporting back to the committee with aggregated data and a plan for education. And Stephanie runs that program. Do you have anything you want to add with respect to that?
Sure, just a few things. When it comes to sitting down one-on-one, it's really a very simple calculator that Lewis and Tom use, that they ask a few questions sitting there with someone. So it's very simple to walk through to be able to move forward with where their needs are. As far as the larger assessment that we do, I'll work with Andy and the rest of the committee to figure out how we want to work that, whether it's emails to employees to have that up, or if we want to look at topics because they know their employees, we can go from there to set up education. We can make that customized to whatever the needs are. And then really we just go from there. We do a timeline. Do you want to have education quarterly, twice a year, once a year? And the options are endless on how we do it. And it is really simple and easy for the employees to understand. We've had a lot of success with it so far. And it's not just, are you, retirement ready and, in your wealth management, it's that someone with their student loan that needs help or simple budgeting. So we have resources for every kind of individual where they are in their life.
Is that what the 12 questions are about?
Yes, that's what, so the questions start with simple demographics, salary information, age, do they have savings? Do they have another retirement plan? Then it asks for the 12 topics, loans, budgeting, estate planning, retirement readiness, and there's a couple more that are in that. And then it goes into asking if they have long-term disability, long-term care, sometimes or HSA plans. They aren't even sure what their company offers them. They'll say they don't have something, and it brings up a whole other topic to say, you do have this. So it uncovers a lot of different things, not just how much money are they putting into their account from their paycheck.
So everyone should do that.
Oh, it would be great. We run in, and when I say customized, we run into you know, some people don't have access to a computer.
That's my next question.
Yeah, so that's why we really, we'll do it a couple different ways. We can send out the list of topics and sometimes someone has like a one, I know this is terrible, but someone has a spot where everybody sees something and they have them choose topics that are important for them. And then it's kind of turned around where the assessment is done during the one-on-one, so in person rather than beforehand on the computer, because it's just better that way for the demographic of the employees.
Do we have can we help our employees in that respect?
As far as access to some,
Computer to submit
maybe in the
their
future,
information?
it'd be good for, to see if we have the money for that, to have like a weeks to, where my prior employment used to have like a certain center station where employees can access the computer. Yeah, so maybe in the future, we could put it that, so check with the administrator on that. We don't have it right now, but I think that'd be nice to have.
For now.
I think that's a great idea. I don't think we should wait too far into the future. I think we should address that fairly soon.
Absolutely. That's.
But I like to make sure everybody doesn't avoid doing it
Yes.
for that reason.
Just to add to the urgency in that, when we look at the plans, you have 70 people with an average of 48,000 in their fixed account, and 60 have 100% of their money in the fixed account, and 0% are on track for retirement. And that's now, the system doesn't know that they have, whether they have something outside of here. But they also don't, there are tools that are not being used that would help. So it also says, well, nobody's using the tool. So this indicates a couple things. It may not be they're not really on track, but it could be they just don't have enough information to track with that. But just the fact that you have 60 participants that have 100% of their assets in a fixed account at 3.5%, and then you have a smaller number in the 457 in a similar situation, but more that are retirement ready. And I just want you to see, when you have inflation, this was from last quarter, and we know that it's even worse than this right now, is that inflation is really a lot higher than that, but this is inflation right now, and people are getting 3.5% on their money. The inflation is 8% or more. So when we sit down with them, we'll try to figure out a risk model and say, okay, you scored conservative, so you should have this mix in your portfolio. Historically, based on the capital market assumptions and averages, this is the return that history shows us if you're allocated this way provides. And then you have the balance and so on as far as allocations, but it turns into real dollars. Because here's 3.5%, 50,000 at 3.5% over 10 years. And here's if you allocate in a conservative model. And this is what it looks like after 30. And then we have, if they allocate into a higher, more aggressive model, you can see now the numbers look even bigger. This is all risk appropriate, and they don't know unless they talk to us, right? Because no one's talked to them about this before. So that's the imperative. And this just shows how we find those returns in the difference in your funds. Again, we're doing the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah.
There. So this just exemplifies what we're talking about. Target dates, we just want a conservative, moderate, and aggressive version instead of one version of target date. So that gives us more choices for the folks. And we won't go over this, but this is just the glide path of those funds. And you guys fall right in the middle, which is good. It's just there's only one choice. So we talked about engagement. Stephanie did a good job explaining what that means. And then we showed that. And the other part of this down the road is great is plan design. At some point, we want to bring in a separate third-party administrator because right now you're bundled with Nationwide. Everything's nationwide. So it's better to get more heads in the game that have expertise from different perspectives. Most of our plans have an outside third-party administrator, and they give us a host of additional services that we can look at next phase. So I'm not going to dwell on that at the moment, but again, why do these things matter? 0 participants in the 401 and 27% in 457 are retirement. And to answer the questions of the commissioners earlier, we will come in and help them with proper contribution. How do you know if you're saving enough? The appropriate allocations using those models that we talked about. A lot of attention has to go to risk, right? Because you may be, 20 years old and have 45 years before you retire, but you could be very conservative, and vice versa. Sometimes we're in our 50s and we're trying to make up for lost time, or 60s and we're trying to make, so we have to be more aggressive. So we talk about that, the education module of this that we mentioned. And we look at this holistically because we are also benefit advisors. So when someone says, I don't have life insurance, and we know that they do, that's our time to say, wait a second, you have these benefits that you don't really know about. And that's not uncommon. That's not an indictment of any kind. It's just that a lot of employees don't really know what that. So next phase, as mentioned, we just need to become your advisor, sign the agreements, which have already been vetted, and are ready for signature. And then we'll set up all the timelines and get all the minutia moving forward. And then next go around, sometime next year, we'll look at possibly moving to another vendor and adding a third-party administrator. That makes sense, right? Because we're going to always benchmark every year, but we're going to do this live analysis every 3 years. Everything else you see here is ongoing. This is what we're going to do for you ongoing.
Well, listen, I'm excited for what you guys are going to be bringing to our employees, and from our perspective, thank you. Thank you. I think it's going to go a long way with them. And Andy, the ball's in the team's court, whether you're going to sign these guys up or not, but I guess the ball's in Lewis's court, whether he's going to sign these guys up or not.
Well, if we got 0% of participants that can retire and starve to death, we got to do something.
I could guess the 27% that are on track.
Yeah, Mayor, can I say just one last thing? I know there's a lot on the agenda, real quick. The agreement also has a 30-day outfall. So the Weiner does not serve our employees well, that perform well. A lot of pressure's on them to do that.
I have all the confidence in Stephanie, Tom, and Lewis. They're going to get it done. Right? Very good. Well, thank you guys so much for the presentation, and I wish that we were in the plan so we could enjoy your company and get me the retirement age.
He gave you a pen.
I did.
Yeah, great presentation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. I'm gonna bring up Jay Gullo. I know Jay's been traveling here a little bit, and Jay will put you right in the hot seat there here in a minute. As they're breaking down, I'll have you there, and so when I started serving as mayor at that young age up there on the wall, Jay was one of my first mayor friends.
It has been that long. It's great to be here with you all. I was here. I tried to not count it in my head, but I think it's going to be 30 years ago.
When were you the president?
I was president in year 2000 of MML, and I came around to congratulate everybody that had served on MML committees, and that would have been in 2000.
2000,
So
right.
21 years ago, I was here, and I got the copy of the seal still in my office. And some of the faces look the same. We all have less hair. It seems like that.
So Jay was the mayor of New Windsor for a few years.
So,
Well, listen, a couple weeks ago, Jay reached out to me after the conference, the summer conference. Jay and Michelle and I had lunch, and we talked about the PFA class action suit. So I asked him to come back and talk to the whole team about the what exactly this is, as best you can.
Well, I'm glad to be here and answer any of your questions. I'm going to try to break it down into very layman's terms and hopefully don't get too far into the weeds. I'll try to say the words once at least before we use abbreviations. But part of what I do, aside from working with MML to give classes, which I've done here before, is I'm a town attorney for several towns, and I came across a possible lawsuit that a lot of my clients were interested in, and that's when I mentioned it there at MML, saying that this might be an opportunity for you all to get involved as well. And it involved drinking water and the substances that we all call PFAS or PFAs, and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And those substances are shorthand for forever substances. They were made by large manufacturers, the ones that you would know, DuPont, Dow, 3M, a whole host of these people. They made them back in the 70s, and primarily in what we see in municipal government world, because they're used in all sorts of products, but in municipal government worlds, they were used in what they call AFFF, aqueous firefighting foam. So you've seen the firefighters when they don't squirt water on something, they squirt foam on it. Well, back in the day, these substances were in there. And the crux of the issue is that when these substances were added to these products, the manufacturers knew that they would never break down in nature. They were forever chemicals. So once they went out into the environment, they stayed in the environment and eventually worked themselves into the water system. And we've had that examples with lots of other pollutants, MTBEs, and things that you've run into. You run a water system, you've heard of those things. So that was fine. They eventually changed and they don't use those substances anymore because of that. And so the crux of the legal argument is you knew that you were putting these issues out there that could cause health problems for our citizens, that have environmental problems, and they never go away without cleanup. And that's fine. We've had to do cleanup on lots of things. You remember the lead and copper testings and things we've had to do, but they cost money. And they cost, depending on the amount of money it costs, is dependent on what the regulatory levels are. So EPA, through our friends at MDE, come down and they say you can only have a certain amount of pollutants. They measure in parts per million, parts per trillion in your water. And if it's any more than that, you have to do something as a water system provider to take those out before you can continue to let your people use that water. The scary part about the PFAs is that there's no limit yet. And that's why this is something that the staff is familiar with and you should be seeing is that MML is putting out. Everyone realizes that this is going to be something that is going to be regular. That EPA is set to set this limit back in this coming fall. That's what they'd be saying. Now, the other side of this is Congress, even as they function, has realized that this is going to be an incredible burden on people. So they created a whole $5 billion, which sounds like a lot, but not really compared to this nationwide problem, that disadvantaged communities and small communities can take advantage of. You're a small community in the scope of this, where you can apply for grants to help for cleaning up this water. And we don't know whether you need to clean up things or not yet. It's still going to happen. But the problem is, it still doesn't get at the people who actually created the problem. So we call this, and of course, in shorthand, we're calling this a class action lawsuit. The lawyers and the law say, well, it's not really, it's a mass tort litigation, meaning other towns and entities like you, counties and water districts across the country are all filing the same type of lawsuit against the same defendants. And eventually they'll be bundled together and then the decisions will be made. So it's like one set of facts, one, did they do it? Did they know? All those things answered. And then what we're interested in is after they establish this, because it's pretty easy to establish, what are the damages to the individual clients, individual towns? And in other issues where we had like MTBE, we use that as an example, those were additives that were put into gasoline and petroleum products. They leaked when the tanks leaked from Exxon or wherever that those were. They leaked into the soil and then they had to be taken out of drinking water. Well, we didn't sue mom and pop Exxon owner. We didn't sue that. The people that got sued were the big chemical companies again that produced these MTBEs that didn't need to be in there. And then there was a payout eventually based on what the damages were. So that's kind of how this whole situation comes together. And the opportunity that I mentioned to the mayor was, you might want to consider getting your town in line on board to do this. So far, a lot of the jurisdictions are starting to wake up to it. The city of Salisbury, one of the big colleagues down south, they're involved. The town of Poolesville over in Montgomery County, the town of Tawnytown over in Carroll County, and there'll be a lot more people that want to get involved. So the question is, how do you get involved? You get involved, it's just something beyond what at least my clients, probably your town council wants to do. You're not going to file a federal lawsuit in South Carolina and go through this. You want to figure out, how can we get involved without having much risk? And that's what these people bring to the table. There's a national firm called Barron and Buds. They do class action type of lawsuits. They're partnering with another firm out of Texas, Costage, and a whole bunch of names after them. They're the ones that are putting these suits together and doing the work. And then they have local councils that they've engaged throughout the country. And I'm one of them in Maryland. Chip McLeod, you might have heard that name as well. He used to be the town administrator of Kent. He has an office on the Eastern Shore. He does this as well.
I think he's the county council's attorney.
He's the county council attorney here, exactly. So he does that as well. And the local council's job is to be the interface between the nationals and not necessarily to provide any local legal advice. That's what you have your council for. But this is to make sure that the technical things, because nobody you're going to be responsible for. You're not responsible for spending any money. This is one of these where you see the billboards, you know, you don't pay if you don't collect type of deals. It's one of those types of things. But you are going to be responsible for getting the information needed that these people can work with. So your public works departments and all those people, finance departments, to provide all the information so that they can get a credible lawsuit together to be collected with all the other lawsuits, because everybody anticipates this will eventually result in settlement. So the way the material that was reviewed in advance gave you all the scary things about how much is in the water. This came about because the Maryland Department of Environment required all Maryland systems to sample for this over the past year. They'll be doing another round of sampling. That in of itself costs money, but it's not something that is localized. So the citizens don't have to say, well, wow, Elkton's system is bad. No, it's every system has this. A lot of people ask the question, well, how did it get there? And how I gave you the example with the firefighting foam, and a lot of towns be like, we don't know. You know, was there a car accident near your wells? Was there a fire station near your wells that it could run off? Was there some type of vehicle accident? When I talked to your staff and the mayor, they said, well, years and years ago, apparently there was a plane crash here that crashed near your well systems. So they usually use that kind of chemical to fight plane fires. Maybe that's how it got there. The how isn't necessarily that important because it shouldn't be in the place at all. They're able to trace it back way beyond what I am, but they can use the chemical markers to see who made what. That thing. So that's what would be required of you all. There are options that you could say, well, I'm not interested in doing this at all. There is no deadline. I mean, I don't think we can wait years for this to happen, but there's no deadline. If you say, well, we're not interested, we want to see how it goes, that's great too. But if you got involved, basically what you would be doing is you would be signing on with this national firm. They only get paid if they collect, and the agreement that you had in front of you is, like any lawyer, they take a percentage, so they take their costs and then 25%, and who gets what's left. I have experience with Barron and Buds in the past. The reason why I was eager to be involved with them, they worked for one of my clients, the city of Tawnytown, and they were able to get a $700,000 judgment, which meant about $400,000 to the town for MTBE pollutants in their water. And the town really needed the money to make sure their water system was cool. This isn't something where, like, you get in the mail, you get those little postcards that says, join this lawsuit, you sign there, and you may get like a $35 gift certificate in 6 months. This may take several years before it comes to fruition. But if you don't get involved at all, you will not be part of the class, and therefore happen. And that's the long and short of it. Most places anticipate the very restrictions that EPA is gonna put in place that could be modified to be even tighter by the locals, meaning MDE, will affect most places. MML put an ad out in their last bulletin, I believe, that said EPA already has shown that they were doing really low parts per millions, not on the PFA substances, but on ones that are like that. So they anticipate it'll be more than.
So real quickly, can you mention to the board why you reached out to them? What was, there was some data that was out there.
Well, yeah, so there is
They may not know.
the hit list. that-
Staff certainly.
Right, there's so it wasn't just random and I saw the mayor walking through the hall. There was actually a list that was put together by MDE of all of the testing that they did and where all of the potential contaminants fell. And you're not at the top of the list, but you are on the list at the top to be worthy of some place that should be required.
So we have one well. Luke, can you explain where the well is?
Oh, three,
Well, three.
that's 27 parts per billion, per trillion, sorry. That's what the testing is 21.
So it had a percentage, small percentage in that well, but it does open us up to where I think we can join.
And when you say 27 parts per trillion, that seems like a lot. But the recent standards they put in place for the PFOS, okay, another chemical substance like that, I want to read it here, is 0.004. You're 27, 0.004 parts. So it's coming. And that's really the reason I reached out. There are some towns that are lucky enough not to be involved at all. They don't have any in their water system, and if they have any water in their water system, they'll be able to attend. But you are not one of those.
I have a question.
Sure.
Further, we have 27 parts per trillion right now. Have there been subsequent tests? Are we rising, falling, or staying the same?
I'll be able to tell you soon, because I sent an Infomark request for another round of tests. So as soon as they get them done, we'll know.
How long ago did we get tested? Those would be 27.
21. Matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly. The 27.22 parts per trillion was discovered in the well 3 on November 18, 2020. And we had 6.37 in the filter plant, the treatment plant, and 2.72 with well 5. That's near Hollingsworth, Mass.
The one comment was, is we've never had to test for that before. Is that correct?
I don't know
We
when
never
they
tested.
started testing for that. It just, normally they test for a whole gamut of chemical hydrochlorides, chlorinated hydrocarbons, things like that. But that's this PFAS thing kicked in, at least, you can tell you that recently. So I think that's part of ND requirements to do that.
John, can you review this and let us know why or why not we should jump on board?
I'd be happy to. In essence, I think what's coming reading between the lines is at some point in the relatively near future, there's going to be a cleanup of money. And that cleanup isn't good. The town's going to have to pay for it. And so you either get on board or lose out, because if you don't get on board, you either get nothing or you have me file these federal lawsuits. They paper my office 1,000 times over.
Let me throw in another complexity here.
That's really the option, I think.
Where the Pan Am crashed was in the vicinity of Pine Valley and Turnquist. It's all private property and developed property up there. That's where it crashed. And actually, when they were doing the Cross Brothers was doing excavation and grading for Pine Valley, they actually found part of the plane section of the airline, I think. So that was where it was. So when if they used some type of foam spray at that time, and I know they had Navy go there, but I don't know about our fire company, the single fire company, but that's not too distant from well number 3 actually.
I mean, that's the big question. And when, you know, we first started, you're not that far as water travels for that period of time.
Geologically, that's real close.
So close that you're not far from the Philadelphia airport. You're not far from
downstream from everybody.
Right, so it could be, and that's one of the things that, there always has to be a causal connection, right, to these people that have done the wrong. They made bad chemicals, but how did you get it? But in those types of litigation matters, sometimes, you know, too lawyerly on you, but sometimes the fact that they're there is enough. It doesn't matter how they got there, you know, they're there and you're responsible. More like a strict liability when it's dealing with products like that.
We have the two major aquifers that come through the town, of course, which is, one is the Potomac, and I can't tell you the name of the second aquifer.
Well, the same aquifer that we draw from for well 3 is from artesian water. They draw from the same one, so theoretically they may have issues too if it's expanded beyond the jet plane crash, you know what I mean? So I've asked for samples of finished water from them too.
Well, it sounds like this would be something that's in the best interest of the town to join parts of. So Jay will respond back to you. Is there any other questions for Jay at all? Michelle?
And if I understand correctly, so for instance, if this suit is successful and of whatever percentages the town collects, I'm going to presume that that has to be kept in a fund or in a place just to address cleanup of this particular situation. However, if we expend all of that and we still need to go further, are you able to collect more beyond that, or?
If you, when this, I get your question, if you, again, this isn't a quick thing, but when it's all said and done, it's not just the damages that you have suffered, because right now it's several $100s for testing, but it is the damage that you will suffer because of regulation. But let's say 10 years from now, you do all this, and 10 years from now, the EPA says, we're not good with 5 parts per million, per trillion, we want it to be 3. And that requires you to do even more cleanup. You wouldn't be able to go back to these. You're going to waive collecting anymore for these people. But that's sort of factored into what the recovery would be. And as far as how you hold it, I guess that would be determined at the time. A lot of places say, you know, this is for cleanup. And if you spend it on salaries and bonuses, it's not there for cleanup, you're out of luck. Some places will require you to report back, you know, did you use that? In the MTBE lawsuit, you know, my client that got the $400,000, they popped it right into the general fund and there it went, wherever. So, yeah.
Let me ask a question too. When you say the damages that could be collected here in money, you say for cleanup. What about treatment?
Well, that, I guess that's what I'm saying. It's kind of
Because
like,
I would see it would be more productive to do a change in our treatment process, which could be very expensive.
Right.
To get rid of that.
yes. So when I mean cleanup, in my mind, I'm thinking cleaning it out of the water that you're going to use.
I understand.
So like some places, I don't
It
know.
wouldn't be buying Turnquist and that.
Right, it wouldn't be like digging it all up and taking the soil out. This would be something like when we ran into other pollutants, they had to build an air stripping system, or they had to build carbon filters onto that. So they could continue to use the water and they cleaned it out as.
Did you say the EPA hasn't yet established what is going to be the standard or the shipping point at which it has to be the grass?
They promised them in September, and we'll see this coming September. And the Maryland Rural Water Association, they are also involved. Everybody is now focused on this. This is the new, when like 20 years ago, there was lead and copper. This is the new.
Well, Jay, I'm sure we're going to be back in touch.
Could you let me know? It's a pleasure to see you all here 21 years later. I don't know.
There you go.
No more hair to lose if I come back. So
There you go.
it's great seeing some familiar faces and some new ones. I'll take care. See you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Dan, you're up next with Mr. Paul Bean. He's going to give us a little rundown on our trash here real quickly. Got the whole team here. Sydney's been working out.
A little bit.
You guys have been fine.
Good afternoon, to Mayor Johnson. Thank you again for inviting us to the table. I'm very comfortable here, probably too comfortable. This is a nice respite for me, on a family vacation, so a lot of screaming and crying going on, so, hopefully that's, a good carry. Thanks for that. And like all presentations from me, if we can strike that first 30 seconds in the public record, I appreciate it. I need the family hearing me speaking at a school.
We'll redact that.
Redact that, please. Well, I assume everybody read the presentation, so we're just waiting to vote to approve.
There you
Here
go.
we are. What we did, we discussed, what was it, 2 months ago? Was not the entirety of the group. Rob, you were there, Mayor, you were there, Mr. George, Steve, we missed you. We talked
Good too.
it's good to see you, sir. What we discussed was there's an issue, there's a problem on both sides that needs to be addressed. That is, what is that issue? It's just the sheer abundance of trash that we have. We talked about how did we get here, and it was just, we all understood that there was just a gentleman's understanding, a gentleman's agreement to put us on track to sort of recognize that there's an issue that needs to be addressed. So
Show them how they got here.
yeah, if we can jump to, is it Mitchell? Where are we? Yeah. So the issues impacting services. If we could. Do we want me to run through the agenda?
Yes, go.
You want me to run through the agenda?
Go, go, go.
All right, Dan's directing me here. Thank you, Dan. All right. Issues impacting services. I mean, do we want to jump to page 18? Where do we want to go?
So the problem you got is number one, unrestricted collections. That's the biggest issue, which waste management has, and we agree the same idea. Because if you take a look, what's out there, if you throw it, we have to get it. Some of the stuff gets normal, some of the stuff gets ridiculous. So, I mean, ever since, Tracy will tell you, Tracy's back there, she knows everything about waste management that we do in this town. Ever since the COVID stopped up, I think we've gone through more mattresses than you can shake. You get, you put mattresses out there, you get television, you get couches, you get tables, all kinds of stuff. So right now, that's the biggest thing. We just want to talk about the no restrictions in place because the no controls, it fills up a truck, You got that, you got legacy services, you can do all that.
Thanks for handing it off. Yes. Yep. Move outs, yes, Dan, you already hit on that one. Rising costs, you hit on that. Inflation, I think, the good people at the advisor, wealth advisor, they hit on inflationary costs. It impacts all industry, right? Increased service time. Dan, you hit on that. That was one of my talking points. But yeah, the sheer volume of what we're seeing is driving extra time out in the field, extra time in court. Increased injury. So we have employee churn, so all those factors line up is a problem in the service delivery model and a problem in terms of continuity of services and how do we maintain the current service levels and the expectations are not sustainable. Poor recycling behavior, we're seeing very little short from the mayor who you use more recycling than you do trash, but that we think is what we're seeing though from the data, which we'll get into, we'll unpack that a little bit.
And I think that's the main thing, we're showing this up here, but what really hit home with me is when you get to the numbers of what every household in Elkton we're collecting. And I want you to pound on that to the board here. And I also want you to talk to them about the recycling. I mean, quite frankly, after I listened to that, why in the heck are we recycling?
Yep.
Because we're contaminating it. So it's a shame that when you see these numbers, what you're gonna see here, it's a shame. It's quite frankly, it's a shame. So
Sydney, would you mind advancing to,
current services, want to go to current service,
you know what?
or you want to go right to the
Let's
wage?
let's jump to the weights. Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Oh,
good
back-
call.
back-
There we go. Trash weights. Okay, so industry standard. What we see on a weekly collection of comparable services, comparable size towns. The weekly trash collection is 30 pounds per home trash weekly. What the numbers have borne historically, we did a historic average calculated over the course of 12 months, what the average weight per home is in the town of Elkton. And it's 47 pounds. A significant. And that puts all the stressors on the aforementioned, the previously mentioned service levels, the cost to the town, disposal cost. It's additional blight on what you see at the curb. People move out, leave everything at the curb, that number is all reflected there. That's 17 pounds per home. That equates to over 4,000 pounds. I'm sorry, 4 million. Yeah. That was an appropriately. timed
Think about
answer.
that. Every household in Elkton is 17 pounds more of trash per week. Pounds, 17 pounds a week
Yes.
for
64 pounds a month.
than the average house in the country.
Exactly.
I try to wrap my hands around that. I can't understand how we're 17 pounds more trash. But I know that's the numbers that we're looking at.
Right.
Is that because of the unrestricted?
Yes.
Yes.
Short answer, yeah, absolutely.
That would bring our average way down if we put the restrictions. in place.
Exactly right. And we're gonna get to that. We're gonna unpack that a little bit too here. So, if we could advance to the next slide, please. Okay. Recycle weights is inverted, right? So what we're seeing on weights was a huge increase over standard. We're seeing much less in the recycling stream than we do industry-wide. 10 pounds is what we expect, what we build into all of our assumption model for comparable services. You guys are nearly half that. So essentially, you have 1 million pounds of recycling that's been landfilled in our estimation. We utilize the same methodology to get there. You know, we look 12 months back to determine the average per month. So I'm confident that this data is the integrity of this data. 1 million pounds of recycling lost. It's a lost opportunity. That's 79. That's half from the sustainability and the lack of greening. We're seeing that you're paying 79 pounds per ton for trash when ultimately you could be paying $25 for recycling if we recycle correctly.
Basically, your trash is 50% higher and your recycling is 50% less.
So if it's recycled more, it costs less than
Right.
for the recycled route.
Yeah.
But we're paying for that recycled product at a high rate, which was on the slide before.
Exactly. So less recycling in the recycling stream means more expensive trash that we understand. Yeah, that's ultimately what we're seeing. That's what the drivers see. That's what we see. That's what the numbers there. So we want to talk about how to change those behaviors on the recycling stuff. We have a system and a plan.
One thing is you're gonna get so many people that are gonna recycle, some people are not gonna recycle.
I
So
know.
that's the big problem now. You can't make people recycle.
You know,
Like, I'm just throwing that out there.
Believe, you know what what I like about Maryland is you do have the opportunity to deny some folks who not necessarily deny. If an individual says, I don't want to participate in the recycling program because it doesn't benefit, me, I don't get it, I don't want to do it. They don't have to do it. In Delaware rules there, we have mandatory recycling. They have to do it even if they refuse to do it.
Or else. You don't pick it up.
Or else we're in trouble. We're in trouble for not offering it, and we're in trouble for not picking it up. So it's interesting dynamic in Delaware. So you guys do things a little bit different here in Central County. I appreciate that, Maryland. So you might jump into that. I hit on this, a couple images jumped out that we captured in the course of our travel. I mean, these are examples of the unrestricted collection. I mean, this is gonna drive your weight, right? This is gonna affect the aesthetics of the community, right? This is gonna drive our time. This is gonna deplete Dan's time, and Dan can't go out and, attend the streets or some other issues that need to be attended to. This is stuff that Dan's team and our team have to collect in tandem. We collect what we can, we collect. Largely, our drivers think we need to pick up everything because, you know what, we might lose the contract. Or they're gonna have to come back because the resident's gonna call and say, you missed my trash collection. No, we didn't miss your trash. We only picked up half of the household that was sitting at the curb. So it's things like that that we want to work with the town to change through the implementation of certain control. My calculations based on those weight assumptions, right? The costs annually incurred by the town for the additional weights of traffic is $163,771. $771. That's significant. That can be fairly easily avoided. And again, my proposed solution should help get us away from that unnecessary expense. And then the offset cost of savings that one would realize by recycling correctly is nearly $30,000. So together, we're looking at $200,000 savings if we do this correctly. Okay. Thank you. The proposed solution, which we've already done the due diligence when we spoke last, we talked about a route redesign. We're there. Eddie and the team and our logistics experts and leadership and SLP, all the folks, we have the plan in place. We've already routed, we've just done a reroute to establish better ways to service your people, your residents. We want to provide them same day service. No more trash on Monday and recycle on Friday or something. Trash recycling same day by our new design. We're gonna run new trucks. We're gonna move away from the rear load trucks, which are smaller capacity, and they have helpers involved. This is all partially designed to, we don't want to come to the table and ask for money, right? That's not what we're here to do. So what Waste Management decided we needed to do was, how do we improve our services, reduce our costs, so we can be more sustainable and maintain continuity of services? Because ultimately, we know this contract is going to end soon. And we hope to be able to put it in a position where it's attractive to us to continue to do it. So we converted a number of trucks from rear load to front load. They have bigger capacity. It's less trips to the disposal site. Hopefully, we can also reduce by moving from the rear load to front load. We're reducing helpers. We're getting rid of helpers. That's a cost that we don't need to incur if we can do it the right way. We have front load trucks with automated systems. We want to use Corrado truck, where we load it into the top and we use just like a front load system. And you see that pick up the big dumpsters and drop it in. It's like, whenever the Corrado is full. It maximizes our efficiency, reduces our get out time, reduces our turnings, lifting, all that sort of safety risk stuff, and all those cost drivers.
So how do you do recycling and trash in the same day with the same truck, or is it two different trucks?
Two different trucks. Good question. Yep, two different trucks.
Wow.
We're gonna run, what is it? Two trash, one recycle on Monday, two trash, one recycle on Tuesday, two trash, one recycle on Thursday. So we're gonna eliminate a service day. But again, folks love same day services. You're not gonna forget which day you need to drag your toter out, or if you do, you forget both. But it's one less day to remember. And you're dragging your toters out to the curb the night before, same day, every week.
So as you go through this process, you're saying what you want to do.
Yep.
All right, the municipality has to have a buy-in somewhere with what your plan is. And that is the behavior of people. When I say behavior of people, some way you've got to get them involved in getting trash out,
they gotta realize that you got recyclable, you got trash day. You use the word toter. Everybody doesn't use toters. I look at the trash people, when they come down the street and pick up the trash, I feel unfortunate. If they gotta bend over, pick up bag, pick up trash. Somewhere along this line, somebody's gotta educate people or get them involved to assist you in what you're telling them, what you're gonna do.
Commissioner Gibbons, you could have set the table better for, the new design. If we could. Sydney, would you want? I kind of want to jump. You can, I'll circle back to that if you don't mind, okay?
No, I'm just following right along
All right,
for my next question.
is it proposed, right, new design?
Paul, go back to that on the screen.
Okay,
Topic that, right there, the one complimentary bulk item collection per month.
yeah, let's circle back, if you don't mind, let's talk about controls. This is something we talked about with the team, it's something I want to discuss more broadly. We, what we proposed and what wasn't met with, utter disdain, we weren't chased out of the room, was the concept of, let's containerize everything, we'll pick up one containerized item per household. Per stop, that's one container at, trash, one for recycling. This will allow us to automate. This will allow.
Can I interject real quick? If a person did not want to recycle, and on that day that you're picking up, we'll just have the trash out there and you pick it up and take it, right? They don't have to put, if they don't have a recyclable container, it'll still be just. We'd like for them to have two, and we'd like for them to recycle, but if they don't recycle, they don't recycle, correct?
That's the town's fault. If you're willing to pay the 79 per ton, you know, we're like, hey, look, we wanted to recycle, right? These folks just aren't gonna make a commitment to do it.
But we gotta try to make them.
Yep,
Yes.
but if they don't get there, that is definitely not, we'd be happy to support
But
them.
then that contaminates all of your recyclables.
Not if these individuals.
Come in two different trucks.
Right. Essentially, that stop, we would say, okay, X house on Main Street, right? They declined recycling services, so the trash truck knows they're gonna pick up two containerized items, for both of them are trash, rather than one trash, one recycling.
How do you know which is which if it's not marked?
Recycling should all be marked right now.
Yeah, our recyclables are marked
Should
for the different designated color bids for recyclable. Or town hall as well as us have stickers and they can put one.
Right, I've got them on mine, but do you think that everybody in town has that in place? Or are you witnessing homes that do not have it?
It's more of a have and have. Some people are, and it's easy to designate, and some people aren't, but like you said, the majority aren't, so. By the time we go to places, they can go to trash, but we came to bridging between the second and trash, but it's so contaminated, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a toss up. Right. Until which one is it, so. So, only option would be, we would have to educate them and probably get them to the same kind of total or whatever, else, so that we know that we can better, efficiently do our job.
Will the citizens be required to have standardized totes?
Required? No.
Up to us.
No, yeah, I mean, that's a conversation. What this is all designed to do is sort of set the stage by introducing these front load automated trucks. This is all designed to ultimately convert, should the town and waste management decide to proceed with the introduction of a part system for everybody. We have the tools and the systems already in place to do that, right? We also want to reduce bulk items. I mean, as we saw from those previous images, bulk is highly problematic and sort of it creates a tremendous burden on our team to effectively service the account.
What about that one complimentary bulk item you collect per month?
Yes.
Is that a that designated day for that?
There would be a designated day. We would determine how to best do that. But
And what would that encompass?
essentially a notice from the resident to probably Public Works, or it could be to Waste Management, indicating I'd like to take advantage. I have a bulk item like take advantage of utilizing these.
What I mean is,
30-day
what do
time
you
periods.
consider a bulk item?
Anything from a couch to, a refrigerator, freon, you know, a mattress. Have you seen mattresses in town? Yeah, well, yes, on occasion, there'll be a mattress, a box spring.
Basically, what they're taking all the time now, they just want to limit it down to once a month. That's what they get down to, so.
I don't know, thank you. And I don't know if any of you folks have, your regular trash services where you're not part of an HOA or municipality, but I can tell you what the town and waste management offers the residents of Elkton. Far exceeds what one would receive as a regular script customer. Like, if I work for waste management, I would pay $37 a month and I would get weekly trash, every other week recycling, and I would pay to have one bulk item collected. I certainly wouldn't get the benefit of unrestricted collection of everything up to per. And so, trust me, even this proposed solution is generous as compared to what the industry offers. I don't mean just waste management.
It's 37 a month, not 37 a quarter. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm
Right. That's a month, so that's exactly. The other thing to consider, just when it comes to trash, just to throw it in real quick, ahead of what Paul's saying is, before we had like one dumpster in my yard, 52 times a year, it's not a problem. But since we got so much trash generated in town, I've had to put some additional dumpsters at the sewer plant. And that gets up to like 78 like dumps a year, plus 52. So basically, we got a 50% increase in trash. And in the beginning of the meeting, we had to do a budget amendment just for the trash, just to remove it. So it gives you an idea of these are real numbers when it comes to trash itself. And it's why we want to put that kind of controls in, so.
Because without the implementation of some semblance of control, none of this works. None of this isn't sustainable for us, and I don't think it's sustainable for the town.
Correct.
But Paul, you consider on bulk items, a mattress is one item.
Yep.
And the box spring is another.
We do.
Okay. So most people, when they buy it, they buy a new mattress and a new box spring.
Mm,
So they're gonna have to wait and dispose of them every 2 months. Or, here's my next question.
Was this
Yeah, I
wasn't
love
scripted,
putting
you
them
went
on the
off script.
Okay, a person has a sectional couch. A sectional couch is technically a love seat, a couch, and a chair.
Mhm.
Okay. You're gonna take all that one, because to that resident, that's one large item, and that's what waste management is gonna consider. So the neighbor, Mr. Smith, has a couch and a love seat he wants to dispose of. You're gonna make him put that out 2 separate months.
One item, come on.
This is what I think that I tried to explain to you is one guy is getting rid of 3 sections. And another guy is only gonna be able to take out 1 because it's 2 separate pieces.
Here's what I can tell you. Here's what I can tell you. Tracy thinks that is highly problematic. It is insurmountable. It's not insurmountable. I didn't explain this to the entirety of council, but in the town of Smyrna, we went from a situation where the previous vendor had an arrangement where it was unrestricted collection, just like this. And we came in and with the right messaging, with the right system, and the right support, we got them from that unrestricted to this type of model that I'm proposing here today. And it's just about communicating with the residents, supporting one another through that learning curve, that behavior change curve. In the town of Smyrna, we achieved it in 3 months, which I thought was a tremendous feat. And I credited the town of Smyrna for being proactive and being willing to cooperate with us and understanding and just trusting the process. The process does work. We're changing behaviors that have been in place for 14 years, I understand. But you know what? If you don't start here, you guys are.
It's gonna get worse.
It's gonna get worse.
It's gonna get worse. We see it getting worse all the time.
So where did the jokes come from? Who bought it?
We paid for some totes and I think, or did you?
I think by legacy, you may have inherited some, we may have broken some of the residents toters that are plastic not designed for, sort of industrial use, and commercial use. So any toters you see out there, probably by virtue of that, right, replacement.
The other thing, we also tell the new residents that they're responsible for getting their own trash cans, we don't offer them, so we recommend you go to, Home Depot, Walmart, get the heavy duty one, so that's why we do recommend that.
I'd like for you to go into your plan, but kind of to answer one question why it's on my mind, if a resident had a bulk item and they needed to get it off their site, they can haul it to the wastewater treatment plant and or public works, right?
We'll probably work that wastewater treatment plant now, we have limited access, we can get to the wastewater treatment plant without the pump.
So if someone has maybe mattress is the wrong example, but if they had a piece of furniture, or they could call, and they call you, Dan, and they can run it to Public Works, is that right?
He does that in the past, yes.
Does that make sense or no? I mean,
How far is that?
and a lot of people, we used to always take stuff to the landfill without the pen. Did you ever take stuff to landfill?
Yes.
All the time, I used to take stuff.
That was about 7 miles away, but that's really not how much we get.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I live in town and over the last year, I've asked this diagonal from me and 2 people have moved in and moved out. The amount of trash that was left with the curb, I thought, no way was ever taken. You guys did it. So now you're talking, somebody's gonna move out, put all that trash out. You're gone. You're taking one item. What happens to all the other trash?
Well, we've actually got a meeting at 2:00 with the with the landlords.
Right.
And the landlords, we're having this same conversation within the day at 2:00. That they're gonna be responsible for hauling it off.
Right.
And then they're gonna take their security deposit. That's the game plan here.
So then with the landlords, some of our neighbors, we make them responsible for giving out trash cans. Because I see some of our neighbors, these residents aren't gonna be able to buy a trash can that's going to hold on. That's why you're seeing the bags and the piles.
That's a very good point.
And then we standardize some of our trash, make your life a little easier to have a better appearance of these.
Dan, write that one down.
That's something that I suggested to Paul, was to get people into recycling if the town or waste management still in balance.
We're not.
Currently. If new toters are given out as well as the recycle ones, I think that a lot of people will recycle. They don't want to spend the money to go buy another trash can. I think that if we go through town, if the employees from waste management say, hey, this area, all the trash cans for the old, whoever it was before you guys, some of the people have the old sanitation companies. And
Waste management, I'll speak for waste management, they're not opposed to toters, but what Paul's saying is you gotta put the controls in first, without controls,
I agree.
it doesn't matter, that's the point.
We can work that out.
We can work that out.
If we can save on recycling $200,000, we can invest $100,000 in parks, right?
I was gonna say, what's your goal for recycling? To increase the recycling?
I think that the right thing in the world is to increase the recycling. Now, I hate to say it, that I don't think we've done a good job over the last 8 years that I've served as mayor promoting recycling, but that's gonna have to change. Right?
Quite frankly, if I had access
Yeah.
to like a yellow tote from the town to put recycling in, I'd probably do a lot of the job, but no, they have to be out with certain.
It sounds expensive.
It's the,
It does work.
whatever,
I have a separate code for trash.
it's
separate
yellow
code
or.
for Recycling, it's not confusing, so.
But we're gonna work on that, but Paul, I want you to tell us what the marketing is behind this. Go ahead.
Yep, I went through a situation just recently, and it was a family member. It was a family member that put 3 bags out, and it was a death. By the time she woke up that morning, there was about 18 bags out there from neighbors across the street, 3 deaths and some cheers. And she got blamed for everything, but
That was the
it
food bill.
was my daughter. No, it was my daughter. So that next day I came back Because the people that are not willing to do whatever we're asking to do, they wait that moment to throw their trash out with the other person. And then before you know it, you got a ball, thing of trash coming from one resident. And that, I've actually experienced that. So I took my truck and started doing stuff, then it was crazy stuff to come over and help me out. But those are the ones that we gotta try to educate, try to get through.
But it goes
Yes,
back
ma'am.
again to what the mayor just said and everybody else said, we have to do a better job of educating people. If you don't, your problem is not going to be solved.
And we asked Paul to put together a plan. He's put together the plan since we met. And I'm interested to see
Okay.
how this all.
Nobody else is gonna talk to Paul. Finish.
All right, good.
Wait, you sure?
Dan?
No,
I'm gonna
So, what I need to, what the ask today of you guys, of council is, let's set a date to establish these controls. If you're in agreement, that these controls are essential and crucial to our ongoing success. Work with you, work with public works, you have to establish a date to allow us to roll out this communication plan that I'm gonna lay out for you. Here to the next step would be to deploy that message. And then once we feel satisfied, comfortable that we've saturated the residents through every possible media that we think would effectively reach the residents and educate them regarding what's my new service, what's my new track day, what are these new controls, what constitutes acceptable recycling, then we implement new route system. Right, Eddie? Yes, I think it's correctly. And then ultimately, the goal, we only have a year left in our current agreement. The goal is to utilize this next year to put this all in place, get a smooth running system, change behaviors, change the expectations, and we all have an understanding of what the new services are, and then we deploy parts, and then we're running smoothly. Then it's become, I hate to keep saying it, but it's the Smyrna model. It's something I presented at the enterprise as waste management as a best practice to the entirety of the team regarding how to do things the right way. And I think it's could very easily be replicated here. Based on the conversations I've had with you guys, the fact that you welcome us to the table so many times, I supported the Dan and Tracy. I think we can do it.
So again, going back at the beginning, talking about people, what are you going to give them hands-on that they're gonna understand your plan?
Perfect. Next.
Oh, we're gonna answer my question.
This is it.
This is it. Go ahead.
Yep. Shipping marketing people, like I said, marketing material offers collateral that's very good. It needs the various messaging and we need to hit them. For instance, on the screen, you see a letter from Waste Management.
That's important. That's, I agree.
This is the system. This is what it's designed to do. This is the why. And then we offer that's designed to create an educated, well-prepared consumer, right? To your point, that's what you want to see. Appreciation for the value add. What does the town offer the residents? This is it. We're offering you new technology. We're offering you a path forward to the future. The future is going to consist of the introduction of parts. And it's going to beautify your community, right? I mean, these are the value adds. This is what I would want to hear as a resident of, that what you guys are offering. Less turbulent transition. I mean, we know messaging is key. Communication is key. To your point, understanding the benefits realized, and then we have to engage. We don't expect to just drop this on residents. I'm always going to be available. I think we're all going to be available. There are residents that want to have sort of dialogue. We have to have dialogue within reason. City, who was mine next screen, I'm going to offer up. So, samples of message. We designed a map as a service day map. If town's in agreement with the controls, we can roll out this workload route, the new route, and you'll see the colorized map. The red day, the red represents a particular service day. The legend. Red is the Monday service. The green is the Thursday service, right? And blue is Tuesday service. And we have the technology to blow these up as big as they need to get. We can distribute these through a number of different methodologies. We can make them interactive. A resident can put in their address, we'll show them what day the commission of service falls. This is all designed to make it very easy for us to sort of build that transition and frequency of improvement. We have cart hangers. We can deploy these easily. Our drivers are out, they're servicing the customers. They say, hey, ma'am, here's a notification that, you know what, this is what recycling should look like. Or, hey, your container was overloaded. This is, and this is why, so it's not sustainable. You know, all these types of materials. There's a one pager insert we can include in whatever type of material. I know you guys do periodicals before. We do that once at a time. So this offers all the best practices. Where to put your car? What's the benefit of cars? What's the best system? What constitutes best recycling? Then we have a brief paragraph for folks who don't want to read the entirety of the letter. You know, we can get this messaging out a number of ways. Benefits of automated collection. You know, that's, can't see the entire graphic, but there's an additional graphic where it shows what rear load looks like without the automation, which were current services versus what this is. So we have all the collateral in place, all the materials in place to roll this out. We can do it in tandem with the town. We're not going to push anything out. Most of it probably won't come us directly from us, but it can. But nothing goes out without the blessing of folks.
I do like the suggestions.
We could also do YouTube videos, right? Sydney's good at that. We can do a little video action. I think that could get the message across pretty quickly. I think it's something that we have to do. Now, there was one question, you know, you're looking at the truck there and the containers are on the road themselves. Is that something we need to do, or we have them on the sidewalks right now in some areas?
Can I address that? I want you to eventually go back to the first picture you had.
First,
That right there. Picture Whitehall Road, because that's where I live at. Now, here at 6 o'clock, every time you got to empty. My trash can is on the sidewalk. You got people sitting in their trash cans like that on the streets, on both sides. That's to me a hazard. The trash cans in the road. I mean, I'm just my opinion. Both cars flying down there and you guys are slinging the trash cans. And I'm not trying to be negative. I see it all the time.
Right.
But the worst part that irks me, my trash can sitting right in front of my car with my gun back in. I gotta get out and move it. I ain't been complaining. That's one thing I hate. I put my trash can on the sidewalk to avoid any obstruction to the road. People coming down. Now everybody's taking their trash can on both sides, makes this a hazard.
represents safety issue. 100% agreed. Guess what? I think with the implementation of these controls, our guys aren't just burning through town, you know, exactly because they know the next house could have the entirety of the house outside of the curb, you know. So these guys are assuming they know this route, right? They know that what 10% of the homes are gonna have that, you know, a number of mattresses and couches outside. So they don't take their time. They gotta burn through, otherwise they're out there for 14, 16 hours.
I understand that.
So I
See how
think-
nice and neat that is right now?
Yep.
And again, I'm not being negative, I'm
No,
just stating myself. When you guys get finished up trash can, sling it across, and that's where thing.
We do. We do, 100%. That's acknowledged, right? Eddie?
It's a habit.
If you want to get clean, they're going to be staying in one trash can to go ahead and on and pick up because they got money to it from. And also they wouldn't be working for the town anymore, it's kind of probably the whole town. They haven't,
Basically, they're going from 2 days to 3. That's a big difference. So that's.
Listen, I love everything I'm hearing here. I think that I love the 1 day pickup. Pick up both recyclables and regular trash. I think that we can work out the canister situation for our residents. I think some of the challenges that we have is we have some townhouses that don't have the room maybe for 2 canisters, right? So we might have to work those things out, but I'll like it. I'd like to ask the board. We're doing a presentation with the landlord, so we're gonna kind of float that today. But I'm almost thinking that we start to implement maybe like November 7th. Think we could be ready by a date of November 7th? That's a Monday? You think we can get enough marketing swag out there, or you think, should it be at the first of the year? I
I
just,
like November 7th. I think it's aggressive, but I think we can do it. I mean, we have the resources
I think we
at
can
our
do it.
disposal.
I think we can do it.
We can
Well, it's a
commit to
Monday.
it on our end.
It's a Monday, November 7th, and I think we can do it. It's after the summer's over, and I think we can do it.
That's good.
Yeah.
The new equipment, would it fit, through very narrow streets?
That's excellent question, a very good question. We went through the exercise of determining what streets are conducive to allowing for those types of trucks. So, that's why the map looks a little funny, right? It looks like, it's not cohesive exactly, right? So what Eddie's team did along with logistics was determine which of those streets are not compatible with that type of truck. And we're to run the rear load trucks. through
Okay,
those.
so blue would be rear load?
Green.
Now I see it. Okay, I'm so sorry. I was.
Yeah, the down,
Yeah, I see.
the downward consolidated areas where it's
Okay.
dense, with low wires, that sort of thing.
Well, listen, we'll give a firm number next week after we have our town meeting, after we think about this a little bit more, and then we'll firm it up. But we got to talk to the landlords after this meeting, right? Any other questions or comments about this? Because I think we have.
Well, I hate to drag this out, but I do have one thing that's not, these trucks, Eddie, you were saying that they pick them up, dump them, put them back down.
Yes.
But if the truck is traveling down the street in this direction and the trash cans are on the side, you can't turn and come in at it like that. I mean, you can't do that. So how do you pick them up and put them back down in the same place when they're off to the side of the truck?
Not only onto the side, we call them, and then on call, this come down to the front. And we dump maybe 6 houses to the side, and come there, grab them, dumps, we move up, dump, and when this bucket is full, then we make sure.
You say that there's one that comes out to the side of the truck?
Yes, the ball comes up from the side, picks it up and dumps it into the front of the truck. And then we dump the whole bucket when it's full. They got 7 houses and then bring it back down and then continue down the road. Because this bucket holds a couple houses. Some houses before it dumps.
I have Republic and they have the big truck, but it comes out the side, grabs the tube, dumps it in and goes back. That's how they work.
That's what it.
Yes.
But I have seen the dump where it comes in the
Yes,
front too.
we have the front ones that dump back into the bucket. I believe they have the side when you grab.
How much does a truck like that cost? Now, the reason I ask you that,
I think
is because
it's
I think
$300,000.
one time the town considered being in the trash business and you're talking some big money,
Big money.
big money.
This is a good question. and This is a big investment to change things. Yeah. So, great question. Thank you so much.
Well, guys, thank you so much. All right, next up, we have CGI Communications. I know you've been patiently sitting through all this today, and there's a little more of a meeting than we certainly expect.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to do a screen share quickly, and I promise I will keep this to about 10 minutes tops, including Q&A, just to keep you on schedule for today.
See how we fly with this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We missed what you said.
She's setting up her screen display.
Hello,
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm just going to share my screen so you can all see this. And my name is Amy Velez. I'm the Senior Executive of Government Relations and Strategic Partnerships for CGI Digital. So thanks for having me today. And I was saying I'll keep this pretty brief, hopefully about 10 minutes or so of information, and then we can go over any Q&A if anyone has any.
Perfect. Amy, I'd like to set the stage here a little bit.
I love that.
At Maryland Municipal League, you guys were out there, and I met with you, and I really liked the program, and I'm glad you took my invite, and now you're in front of the town board.
Yes, thank you. It was great to see you there. For those that don't know, we were actually the first strategic partner of the Maryland Municipal League well over a decade ago. Our company also does the filming at their conference. So a lot of the community see us there running around, or even saw a lot of our videos throughout the pandemic when those meetings went virtual. So we're really excited to be having this conversation with Elkton. And what we're proposing today is a cost-free community video showcase initiative. And our program really helps communities tell their story more effectively for their online audiences. So our focus is really welcoming and educating any new residents, new visitors, and new business to the area. But we also want this to serve as a great reminder for your existing residents about all of the wonderful things happening too. So you can see on this page here, we are not only working in partnership with the Maryland Municipal League, but also the National League of Cities and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And we've done this with over 5,000 communities across the country. So we're definitely not the new kids on the block, but seeing that this is a cost-free program, we can only do this for a handful in each state per year. I'd like to kick it off by showing you all an example of a welcome video. This is really the introductory piece of each community. And I'll keep it a little bit closer to home. We will do Laurel, Maryland, which is one of our partners on this program currently.
Hello and welcome to the City of Laurel, Maryland. I'm Mayor Craig A. Moe, and as a leader and a resident of this community, I'm a firm believer in our city motto, progress through people. From our incorporation in 1870 through today, the City of Laurel has and will continue to flourish. I invite you to learn more about our community and to discover why so many people call Laurel home.
Laurel is conveniently located between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, where Prince George's, Anne Arundel, and Howard counties meet. Expertly mixing small-town charm and big city amenities, Laurel is a city of opportunity with a stable economy, quality education, affordable housing, numerous recreation activities, and a city government dedicated to growth and development. This is what makes Laurel a worthwhile place for anyone to call home. Discover the precious jewel of the Patuxent and experience the City of Laurel for yourself.
All right, so that was an example of one of our videos, but keep in mind, we would be creating a series of 4 videos for your website. So this is where we really customize the program depending on what some of your key areas of focus are. A lot of the communities we work with like to have content on economic and workforce development and recruitment, parks and recreation, real estate and relocation, education and healthcare. We also have a lot of fun videos on the shopping, dining, arts and culture in the community. Since the pandemic, we've also seen a big uptick in the public safety and healthcare requests. Also DEI initiatives that you're working on in your community. So there's a lot of different directions that we can go on in the program. So we actually have a team of almost 350 of us now, and we dedicate about 40 individuals to putting this video tour together for you. So it's about a 12 to 16 week turnaround time. You get to select your filming dates and when you'd like us to come out on location. And we do the script writing, we do filming, editing, voiceovers, background music, but it's a really collaborative approach that we have. So we'll make sure that you're really happy with the scripts and the story that we plan to tell for your community. And once we have your thumbs up on all of the content and you're really happy with the end results of the video, we would create a custom link so the videos could be displayed on your official website homepage. So this is an example. This is the link that we have on the website for Laurel, Maryland. They're actually in production of creating brand new videos right now that should be going live in the next week or two. But when I click on this for you, you're also going to see our business model. So one of the things that I wanted to show you, of course, is how and why it's a no-cost program. So you all can probably notice around the perimeter, there's several different logos of local businesses and or nonprofits from Laurel. So we create partnerships with local businesses in the community And this is how we're able to really showcase the amenities and the services that these potential new residents or visitors might want to connect with once they come to the area. So you can see different restaurants and shops, recreational facilities. We have doctors, schools. There's a variety of different businesses that participate in our program. So the one thing that I wanted to point out, and I'm actually going to click on this family dentistry logo on the bottom right for reference. These business logos are much more than what they appear to be. An actual video will come up that our company also produced for that business. So now it's not just the 4 videos that we created for Elkton. It would be an entire series of videos showcasing the local business community and all of the community pride with your video tour. So we are responsible for reaching out and connecting with the local businesses in the area, and we would educate them on the various services available. So one business might want a 30-second video. A different business might need help with their website. There might be businesses that have already invested in video. And if that's the case, they can utilize their own content. So there's about 10 other services that we provide the local businesses to help with their marketing efforts as well. So how many businesses would need to sign up for this to be a free program? The answer is 0. So we do not have a contingency as to how many businesses need to participate in the project. I will say I've been with the company for over 15 years, so I don't have an example of 0 businesses ever signing up, which is, of course, a great testimony as to why we're growing and work with so many communities. But we are that confident in our quality, our customer service, and the video content and how powerful that is for the business community that we don't anticipate that happening. And we're essentially willing to roll the dice as to whether we'll have 0, 10, or 100 businesses participate. I also wanted to let you all know about one of my favorite parts of the program. This is a video that we call Community Organizations. And this video talks about the important role of nonprofits and local charities in your community. You all might have noticed by now that around the perimeter, all of the logos have changed. So you're looking at police, Rotary, their advocacy group, the Lions Club. What we had done is we reached out to these entities and provided them with free exposure on the program. So they love it. They love being included in a community pride program. They're getting more and more exposure for their organizations. And it was a great way for not only our company, but the communities we partner with to give back, since they really help enrich the quality of life for your residents every day. So in summary, what we are proposing are the 4 custom videos for your official website. That does include the full production. That includes us reaching out and connecting with the local businesses and nonprofits. We would also create the custom link for your official website to display the content. And once you're a partner of CGI's, we do come out every few years to update the content forever. So we want to make sure that the videos are up to date, refreshed on the website. And if there was ever something that we would need to update or make an edit to the content, all we would need is a phone call from one of you, and we'll make that happen to make sure that they're still fresh. So I really appreciate you all letting me give this brief presentation, and I'd love to go over any questions that you have.
Amy, I'd like to, I feel pretty comfortable. I understand the whole program. And one of the unique things that I thought the board should know was, when I'm looking at your community movies to the left side of your screen right now, what I wanted to let the board know, what I visualized there, we would have companies like Trumo Medical, Northrop Grumman, W.L. Gore, these entities actually selling themselves also on our website that they could be soliciting for employees for their businesses and so forth. In the area where, you have, education, of course, it would be telling the public about all of our schools that are in the town of Elkton. In the, community, I would like to have, all the, church communities so that if someone came to the town of Elkton page and they wanted to know, okay, where could my children go to school? What churches are available to me? What's my workforce? That was kind of the message that I'd like to get across. Is that possible in this?
Absolutely. And in fact, recruitment, especially on the business angle, is really critical for today. One of, and I'll actually go back just to show you all just a little bit more in depth here. So on the left-hand side of each of the local participating businesses, their profile, you'll see we've got the map here, we've got the website, email address. One of the things that we're going to start adding to all of our programs is we're hiring tab. So you'd be able to immediately click and see if they are hiring, what jobs are available, who to connect with, and just provide a way to help these businesses fill some of these positions.
Yeah, I can see this as a nice tool for us. Anyone from the board have any questions or comments? And we'll talk about this again next week after we think about it a little bit more. But does anyone have any comments for Amy?
Well, I actually like it. It brings a lot of entities in the town, as the mayor just talked about with the education, the ministers, the businesses, and it's just good. It's a good introduction to someone that's not familiar here, or somebody who's thinking about moving to Elkton, and it's very detailed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I always recommend to every community that we're talking to really put yourselves in the shoes of an outside visitor. So I'm sitting here in Rochester, New York. This is our national headquarters. And what do I see when I Google Elkton, Maryland? A lot of the community partners and our main points of contact that we work with are from the area. So you're not doing those Google searches like someone on the outside would. So I encourage all of you to take a look at what that looks like. And the good news is we're impressed. You've got a nice website with Civic Plus, who we work with literally every day. But there's some additional areas that we could really emphasize that will do a lot of good for your community.
Yeah, I think we can do a good job with this. But listen, we appreciate you coming on board. You'll hear back from us real soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Andy, we'll put you on next week. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Does anyone have anything to say for the good of the town of Elkton?
I can't wait.
Everything can wait? Perfect. All right. Landlord meetings next. Meeting adjourned.